Made possible through support from PASCO, Personal Assistance Services of Colorado, the Arc of Aurora, and Developmental Pathways. A THINK+change training.
Hey there, this is Jeff and...
And I'm Petrie. We are advocates with the Arc of Aurora.
Great, and why are we here today?
So we're offering up a THINK+change training on a specific issue within the criminal justice system as it pertains to people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So Jeff, what are we covering today?
We're going to talk about expectations of legal representation.
Great.
And I think the elephant in the room here is going to be public defender. That's what I get the most questions about.
For sure.
What is it? How do I get one? Let's go through it slow and simple. A public defender is going to be available to anybody that qualifies. There are some qualifications. We'll go over those. But keep in mind, too, if you are in custody, you're automatically assigned a public defender. Mm-hmm. So if you are in custody, you don't have to worry about qualifying. You do qualify. But
if you're not in custody, then what are those steps?
Okay, well, first of all, it's pretty simple. The public defender office is going to be located inside the courthouse.
That's
For
convenient.
Instance, here in Aurora, Colorado, in our courthouse, it's on the second floor. And usually the office hours kind of are built around when people are actually there, during court. So what you could do is just go upstairs to the office, and you're going to go in there and just ask for an application. Now, there is some paperwork you're going to need to complete the application. And I'd recommend, too, that you bring support or staff with you, especially if you have trouble filling out applications or you don't know all the information. So what you want to do is prepare with the paperwork, which one of the major things is to prove how much income you have. Because if you have too much household income, you're not going to qualify. And if you're married, say you don't make a lot of money, but your spouse does, that's going to disqualify you. So keep in mind.
That's a good piece of information
Yeah.
to know.
But what would you need to prove your household income? Well, it's pretty simple. Pay stubs. But if you work somewhere where you don't get pay stubs for whatever reason, you can actually get an official letter from your employer written on letterhead to make up for that lack of a pay stub. That would say how much income you bring in with your job. So a tax return would be another way to show income. If you do receive Social Security, you're going to need to bring in a Social Security stub or an official letter.
Okay. Like your award letter?
Reward letter, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's also known as reward letter.
Yep.
Thanks for getting me on that. If you do get food stamps or receive any kind of public assistance, just bring the reward letters for those as well.
Okay.
So
quick question. Is
Sure.
there a timeline for getting your public defender? Like if you know that you need to be appearing in court on a certain date, you probably don't want to just do it that day, right?
No. If there is some kind of complication, though, leading you into that situation, you can probably get a continuance to get that public defender. But I would just suggest as soon as you get into that courtroom and realize that you might be in a situation to get a public defender, you're already there. Just go up to the office and do the application. And once again, make sure you bring the proper documentation and a support person or staff if you have difficulty with this kind of paperwork. Mm-hmm. But it's really important to get that going as soon as possible.
Good tip. Okay. So once you have your public defender, then what can you expect from this person? So let's talk a little bit about that.
I have a question.
Yes.
Are they going to be calling you right away, and are they going to be easy to communicate with and get a hold of?
So that's a really good point to kind of set those expectations. Typically, no. They are pretty tricky sometimes to get a hold of. You have to be diligent and keep trying if you don't hear from them, because it's still, at the end of the day, is your responsibility to ensure that you connect with your public defender so that you have time to communicate with them. They can give you advice in time for your court appearance. So here are two kind of different ways that you can connect with your public defender. So going back to your point, if you are in custody, which means you're in jail currently, the public defender will come and visit you in jail. So that piece you don't have to really
I was going to say, how do you arrange to get out of jail to talk to your public defender?
Right. So they will often come and visit you if you are in custody. Once you're out of custody or you haven't been in custody in the first place, then they will reach out to you to chat with you. I will share with you that sometimes it may only be a few days before you're due to go to court. As you might imagine, if you're being appointed by the court as an attorney for representing people who can't necessarily afford their own representation, they have massive caseloads. So you just have to keep in mind that you need to be diligent in reaching out to them. So once you do chat with your public defender, though, he or she will go through the majority of your options, what kinds of things you might expect from the court, from the judge, and really talk through the different choices that you may or may not have.
Okay, and like on a court date, say you have court at 8 a.m., are you expecting to see your public defender right then and there, or how do you?
So typically what happens is you'll show up to court. Again, let's just use 8 a.m. as your court date. If you kind of remember back to one of our other talks, even though you're supposed to be in court at 8, you might not get seen by the judge at 8. So usually within that window of time, the public defender will come and find you. You should be sitting in the courtroom. They'll call out your name, and then you guys will step out and have a conversation about what's going to go on today, what you should or shouldn't say, what you might expect from the district attorney, and we'll talk about that in a minute too, and just kind of chat a little bit of strategy and expectation.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense to me. However, if I was to apply for a public defender and got turned down for a variety of reasons, maybe related to money, most likely connected to money,
Yep.
What can I do? I guess I could get
You
a
can
private lawyer, right?
Absolutely, you can hire your own lawyer for sure.
And there is always that option of representing yourself, but that's not necessarily the best option.
Typically, that's not the best option simply because there's a lot of nuance, right, to the criminal justice system, and there may be things that you just don't know, things that you may not know what to do or not to do in order to protect yourself and your rights. So typically, having an attorney on your side is the best option.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Who is a DA though? You mentioned a DA
Right.
earlier.
So the district attorney is
district attorney,
right,
DA. Okay.
Right. Representative of the state, and the district attorney is the one who will be prosecuting the case, which means he or she is there to prove or disprove the charges against you.
Okay, that makes sense.
Or someone in the case. So they will do the investigating and the prosecuting.
Okay. Well, I think I kind of understand a little bit more than I did before we started chatting, so thank you for that.
Absolutely. Anything else we want to throw in there about district attorneys or public defenders?
Well, I'll tell you this. What I've noticed in working with public defenders is that if you do want to talk to them, you do have to put forth the effort because they're not going to end up reaching out more for you than they can.
That's true. This is kind of where you'll need to be a self-advocate. That's going to be important to ensure that you are continuing to connect with the public defender.
And remember, having a public defender isn't a privilege, it's a right.
That's correct. It is a right for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
No?
Okay.
Not for me.
Well, thank you all for being with us today. Stay tuned. There will be more.